like to talk about something that comes up more than I'd like to admit. A client comes to me with a very clear visual vision. They know exactly what they want. They know the fonts, the colors, sometimes even the layout. They've made a mock layout. They've saved a million screenshots. They have Pinterest boards out the wazoo, and they want me to build that website. And I love that energy. I love a client who is excited about their website. But sometimes, in all that excitement about how the site looks, something really important gets lost. And that's how the site actually works, the strategy behind it. Today, I'd like to talk about the difference between a designer who builds what you tell them to build and a designer who helps you build what your business actually needs. There is a difference, and this difference matters more than you might think. Welcome to Website Design Made Simple, the podcast for busy small business owners who want a high-performing website that converts and sells their offers, even while they're sleeping. Because you deserve to have a strategic and beautiful website that truly represents your brand and positions you as the expert that you are. I'm your host, Jenny B, web designer and creative director at Jenny B Designs, where we believe that your website is the one thing that makes you sales and builds your brand at the same time. Ready to say goodbye to a website that you're embarrassed to share? And hello to a money-making, personality-packed powerhouse? Let's head into today's episode. This episode was inspired by a recent client and a few that I've had in the last year or so. This theme has come out, and I wanted to make an episode about it because I think there is a real difference between the pixel pusher and the strategist. Before I get into it, if we haven't already met, I am Jenny B, and I would consider myself a strategist, a website strategist. I am a website designer, and I am also a strategist who has your business in mind as I build websites. Yes, I love a beautiful, pretty, aesthetic website, but it's more important about how the website works for your business than it is having every single pixel be perfect. So let's define what that pixel pusher is. It's just a silly term for a designer who takes your brief or even your mock-up and builds it. You say jump and they say how high. You say make that logo bigger and they make the logo bigger. This is one of the things that us designers always laugh about. The client always wants to make the logo bigger. You say, I want a full screen video on my homepage that just has the audio blasting at full audio when you land on there, and the designer adds a full screen video. Pixel pushers are skilled and talented, and they'll give you exactly what you ask for. The problem is that what you ask for and what your business needs are not always the same thing. There's some sneaky signs that you might be the client that is looking for a pixel pusher without even realizing it. You come to your designer with a fully formed vision, and you want it executed and not questioned. And this has happened to me multiple times in the last year. And it's a really tricky spot to be in because I have so much passion for helping these small businesses. I want them to show up online. They have so much excitement about the project, but they've come in with a fully formed vision, and that is really difficult to make any changes to. Another sign is that you find yourself focused on the design details, the fonts, the colors, the spacing, before you've actually thought about what the site needs to do. And this happened to me when a client came to me with a design, a mock-up built to the homepage. They had it out to the pixel and they were working on it back and forth, and then they shared it with me. And when I looked at it, it had links to pages that we weren't going to include. It didn't include information about pages and the navigation and throughout the homepage that we were going to include. And it wasn't focused on strategy. It was just what would look pretty here and what should we have on this page. Another sign is that you feel frustrated when your designer asks why instead of just doing it when you hand it to them. And you measure the success of your project by whether it looks the way you imagined it, not whether it's bringing in clients. And I want to put this out there. There's nothing wrong about caring about design. I care deeply about how your website looks. An aesthetic website matters to me. It builds trust. It reflects your brand. It makes your people feel something when they get there. And I'm not here to tell you that design doesn't matter. But design in service of nothing is just decoration, and that does not pay your bills. And it's really hard when you are that client that comes to a designer with this fully formed vision, and the designer wants to dig in and understand and get strategic about things. And if they recommend changes, it's hard for the client to wrap their brains around it. It just like doesn't compute. And so that's a really hard spot to be in. Now, what a strategist does, what I do, is different. And it's something that most clients don't realize that they're hiring me for, but it's what I'm doing. You're hiring me to make your site look good, but actually, I'm going to say, and you're hiring me for someone who is thinking about all the strategy behind every single thing, such as who is landing on this page? What do they need? What do they need to feel? What do they need to see? What do they need to do? What is that one action I want this visitor to take? Is the content that I have on this page helping that goal or hurting that goal? Are people getting confused? Are they losing trust? What does this business need its website to do? And is every single design decision made serving that? Couple of examples. Example number one, I had a client come to me with a mock-up, and it said, welcome to the name of their website. And it had a long paragraph in the hero section. It made sense to them. They wanted this look and feel to their website. But the thing is that this hero section is the most important part of your website. It can't say welcome to. It can't be full of paragraphs of copy. People do not stay. They do not read. We have short attention spans. It needs to be punchy and short and straight to the point so that when someone lands on your website, it's clear exactly what you... Quick question. Are you frustrated with your website? Not sure why it isn't converting? I would love to help. That's why I offer my website coaching calls. In just 50 minutes, we'll uncover what's holding your site back and create a plan to fix it. Whether you need help with design, content, or strategy, I'll give you the clear steps to move forward. Click the link in the show notes to book your coaching call today, and let's make your website your best marketing tool. Now back to the episode. And how you help them. And when you come to someone with a mock-up with that built into it, and you're looking for Pixel Pusher to basically design it out, and they challenge you, it's because the strategist in us is saying, yes, this looks really pretty, but it's not going to do the job that you want it to do. And when you're able to look at it like the client and say, you know what, you're right, there needs to be a strategy behind this look. Of course, it's going to work better for the business. The second example that I'm going to share is I've had clients recently, a lot of clients actually, who wanted to put every single thing on their homepage, every single service, every detail, every credential. And it's kind of logical that you would think the more information that you can share with people, the more they're going to know about you and trust you. But the problem is that when a homepage tries to say everything and it's long and winded, it ends up saying nothing at all. Part of my job is helping clients understand that editing is a strategy. White space is a huge strategy, and what you leave out is just as intentional as what you put in. And my third example is about that beautiful, beautiful, aesthetically beautiful website. I think I've spoken about a designer before on a couple of episodes. Gorgeous website, beautiful photos, elegant fonts, gorgeous branding, but it was not working. The contact form is buried. You couldn't get there within 3 clicks. There was a lot of content that had words that didn't entirely make sense. You don't have a full grasp of what they actually do. The site looked like $1 million, but it wasn't bringing in clients. It wasn't converting. Beautiful is not the same about as effective. The question every strategic designer like myself is always asking Does this decision serve the person who is going to land on this page? Not does it look good, not does this spacing work perfectly with these words and the headline and the subheadline and the image. Yeah, I'm looking at that to make it look good, but that's not my first thought. My first thought is, does it serve the visitor? Because the visitor is the one we're trying to convert. Now, why is this so hard for clients to hear sometimes? You've hired someone to build your vision, but why are they pushing back? And this is where it gets a little bit uncomfortable, and I want to be honest about it. When a client comes to me with a clear vision and I say, I'd actually recommend doing it slightly different, they can feel like I am being difficult, like I'm not listening, like I know better than they do about their own business. And I want to address this. You know your business better than I do. That end of story. You know your clients, your voice, your values. That knowledge is irreplaceable. And I rely on that 100%. But you hired me because I know websites. I know what makes people stay and what makes them leave. I know where eyes go on a page. I know what builds trust and what creates the friction. And that's my expertise, and it's what you're paying for. And when I push back on something, I'm not dismissing your vision. I'm doing my job, and my job is to make sure your website works, not just looks like the way you've imagined. And if you have a website designer, and this happens a lot, I would say with website developers more than designers, people who are more technology minded versus designer minded. If you have someone who is doing your website, and I'll use the word doing because it encapsulates all of them, is not pushing back, they're not doing you any favors. If every single thing you suggest gets a yes, ask yourself, are they serving you, or are they just, keeping the peace, just saying yes? Because a designer who agrees with everything might feel easy to work with, but easy and effective aren't the same thing. I like to say that it's easy to work for me and I create effective websites. But there are points when I gently push back and ask questions. At the end of the day, it's all up to the client. I want the client to be happy with what we create for them. But I also want it to work strategically for them, and that's why I do ask the questions. Now, how do you know if you're working with a strategist? Some questions to ask before you hire a website designer. You can ask them, do you just build what I ask for, or do you ask me questions when something isn't serving my goals? And if you don't have to, before you even have to ask these questions, you might know if you're working with a strategist or not if they are asking you questions. That's probably step number one. Are they asking you questions? If they're not asking you questions, they're probably not a strategist. But if they did, then ask them these following questions. Can you walk me through a time when you recommended something different from what the client wanted? How do you measure whether a website is successful? What's your process for understanding my business before you start designing? And like I said, green flags, they're asking you questions before they start. That's a must. They ask about your audience, not just about the design. They can explain why they made a specific design decision, not just what it looks like. And they talk about goals and conversions and clarity alongside the fonts and the colors and the spacing and the padding and all those things. Red flags are they never question anything. Their portfolio is about how things look with no mention of results, and they can't explain the strategy behind their design decisions. They just put it there because it looks good. So the bottom line is that a beautiful website and a strategic website aren't mutually exclusive. The best websites are both. They're beautiful and they work hard. But if you have to choose, and sometimes you do, I will choose an effective over beautiful website every single time, because at the end of the day, your website has one job, and it's not to win a design award. It's not to impress everyone out there. It's to bring the right people to your door and give them a reason to reach out to you to take the action that you want them to take. And that's what I build, and that's what I care about. And that's what I want for every single client that I work with. And, here's something I want you to think about. When you think about your website, what are you measuring? Are you measuring how much you love the way it looks? Or are you measuring what it's actually doing for your business? Both matter, but make sure you know which one is driving your decisions behind everything that goes with your website. So that is something that's been on my mind. I hope I made that clear for you. And if you feel like your website looks fine, but something isn't working, people aren't contacting you through the contact page, they're not calling you, you're not attracting right fit clients, it just doesn't feel like it's doing its job, then that's exactly what I can help you with. I offer a website coaching call. We can look through your website and I can give you a clear picture of what's working and what's not and what you can do about it. You can book one down in the show notes. And if this episode resonated with you, if you have been on either side of this conversation, as a business owner who wanted that pixel pusher who's just going to create the design they created, or as someone who realized later that they needed the strategist, I would love to hear from you. Send me a message on LinkedIn or just respond to my newsletter. I have a newsletter that goes out every Thursday. If you're not on the list, you can get on that at jennybdesigns.com/newsletter. And I would love to hear from you. I read every single response to my newsletters, and it means so much that you're listening. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next time. And that wraps up another episode of Website Design Made Simple. I hope you found the insights shared in this episode valuable and takes you one step closer to creating a website that attracts more of your ideal clients and builds your brand. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a minute to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or a rating on Spotify. Your review will help us reach more small business owners like you who are ready to make more money with their website. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.